Hey guys, this is Orgonite El Paso. My name is Mondo Blanco, and I'm up here in Chicago visiting with a friend, David Shire. And he is going to do an interview about Orgonite. He has a few questions, and we're going to go ahead and discuss them. So without further ado, let's rock and roll.
Let's rock. Alright. So, when we were talking last night, I think it inspired a lot more better questions I had originally thought of. And so, one of the things you were talking about, and I cut you off just so I can save it now, is you were telling me the story of how you got into
Orgonite?
Yeah. And so, what directed you back? Or what got you into Orgonite? What inspired you to start?
I got lost in conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I became a conspiracy nut. And at one point, I'm like, well, what can I do about it? And as I was looking up solutions, like one of the biggest things I believed in was reptilians. And I was like, okay, well, like that's a cool. I thought it was like the coolest thing that the Earth was not inhabited just by humans and animals, but there was also lizard people walking around. So I was like, I want to meet one, and I was heavily into the spiritual movement where manifestation by your thoughts creates your experiences. So I put all my energy into wanting to meet a reptilian. And one of the things that caught my attention was on the YouTube was how to identify a reptilian.
Yeah.
And it said, wear a piece of Orgonite. I'm like, well, what the hell is Orgonite?
Right.
So I started doing research into what it actually is, and the logic behind it was, okay, yeah, Orgonite is so positive that any negative being on a very negative vibration cannot stand its presence. And I was working at Starbucks at the time, and I figured, well, hey, I'm pretty sure I serve a few lizard people if they exist, so I want to like watch for signs of. Because one of the things that they said is that wear a piece of Orgonite, and they're so negative that they'll get uncomfortable, they'll start clearing their throat. So I would wear a pendant underneath my shirt, and gauge the people's reactions. So if they're like, and I'm like, I don't really believe in the whole reptilian thing anymore. Like, I never experienced one still. Even though I tried manifesting it, wearing Orgonite to identify, I never experienced a lizard person. Right. So, but when I ordered that pendant, I did notice some subtle things, and yeah, I just decided I was like, okay, well, if this pendant is working, well, what would a pyramid do in the household on top of the Wi-Fi antenna? And I started looking up like the prices of Orgonite, and it's pretty expensive. So I figured, well, how much does it cost to make a piece? And then I just started looking up recipes and the way other people were making their Orgonite, and eventually I came across Orgonite Austin.
Yeah.
And saw his experiments, and I decided to repeat them to either prove him right or wrong, and that's basically how I got into Orgonite.
That's cool. So your first piece of Orgonite you purchased from someone else. Where did you purchase that from?
I cannot remember the website, but it was very, it wasn't commercial. You could tell it was locally owned, but I can't recall where I got it from.
Oh, okay. So, you've been an artist for a long time. As long as I've known you, and I've known you over 10 years, like, man, like 15
Yeah,
years now.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how's your art changed since you started Orgonite?
It changed drastically.
Yeah.
Like, when I met you and you knew me as an artist, all my only talent was I can put anything I see on paper.
Yeah.
So I was really good at copying things and putting them onto paper. Anything I could put on paper. So, and I was aware of that. I was like, oh, I can't really do anything for myself, but I can do this. So, after working with Orgonite, I came into other subjects as well, because Orgonite is based off of orgone energy from Dr. Wilhelm Reich, but it led me to study more in depth Nikola Tesla, Steinmetz, and one thing I came across was a vortex-based mathematics.
Vortex-based mathematics.
Yeah. And after spending like about a year learning the mathematics, and then I started encoding it within my artwork. And after a while, like you draw that symbol so many times that you just start getting a natural feel for it. So I would include this mathematics within my artwork. So and from there it manifested into like a whole new, like where I worked with circles and just including geometry, sacred geometry, if you want to call it that, into my artwork. And so I gained a lot of knowledge of sacred geometry and how the universe is like operating. It's like studying vortex-based mathematics, you start seeing the blueprint of how the universe is working.
So you still do a lot of drawn stuff? Do you still draw?
I mean, I still draw, but it's seldom, because I'm spending a lot of my energy with making Orgonite or comedy. So it's seldom when I spend time drawing. But now I'm thinking maybe I should get back to it also, as well.
And so, does Orgonite play into your comedy at all? Are you a comedian as well?
At first, it did not.
Yeah.
For the first 2 years, I just stuck to my usual routine, and then a lot of people started pitching. They're like, maybe you should do Orgonite comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how the hell do I do that? And after a while, I guess those seeds were planted, and a bit just started forming.
Yeah.
And one day, like about 3 months ago, I went up and I broke away from my normal routine. And I just started talking about the conspiracy theories and the reptilian part, and then I brought it all together and like made light of it. And so it's the Orgonite comedy is at its infancy. Right now, but people are loving it, which is cool.
So earlier you told me that you were addicted to almost these conspiracy theories last night when we were talking.
Yeah.
And after hearing you talk about bringing the Orgonite into comedy, and you retired from comedy briefly, or you took some time off.
Took time off,
you weren't gonna go back to it. Was that during the time when you were like feeling like when you were really into these conspiracy theories? Is that when you kind of like dropped off the grid with the comedy, or?
Yes, because my main intention with doing stand-up was to enter the entertainment industry, and I noticed that a lot of the big stars right now, they started doing comedy.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, that's a great gateway into entering the entertainment world. And when I started getting into the conspiracy, like, you can't have a conspiracy without Illuminati, right?
Right.
So, and for the record, I don't buy into this Illuminati bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
it is a distraction to, instead of looking for the real culprits, we're being driven off by, oh, well, Rihanna or Jay-Z,
Yeah.
they're doing the triangle, and it's like, it's ridiculous after a while. Like, you see overwhelming evidence, but, like, it's all just to keep you distracted, in my opinion. So, but at the time, I did believe in this Illuminati. So I'm like, okay, well, there's no point in me trying to become a big star, because at one certain point, I gotta if I want to go from the $20 million club to the $100 million club, that's when you gotta, like, sell your soul, so to speak, where you're no longer using a name. My name's Armando Blanco, but that's not gonna flow, so they would have to create a pseudonym for myself, which would be something. That's what Armando Blanco is all about.
Was that what that was all about?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because like with Richie Valens, Ricardo Valenzuela, but Richie Valens. The studio owns Richie Valens, the name. So after realizing that if you want to get to a certain point in success, you have to join the certain club to get further. And I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'd rather not.
So did you ever go by names like Armin LeBlanc?
No, like like on stage, no, I never used that alias.
It's funny.
Just
off the record, I always thought that was like a joke. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was a joke thing, but you were actually thinking about using it as a stage name if you got famous.
Right?
That's neat. So how do you view your Orgonite now after your first introduction to it? And, like, what do you gain from constructing these things? And then maybe after that you can tell us how it works, how you make the Orgonite, what goes into it.
Like, reading about it, that's one thing. But purchasing a piece is another, because there is an element of a pseudo aspect to it. Because if you believe in anything so much, you're gonna trick yourself or convince yourself to believe it.
Yeah.
So experiencing it, like, it disprove, like, there's a lot of disinformation about Orgonite as well. For instance, the reptilian thing. I mean, assuming there's no fucking lizard people walking around.
Right.
But I've never experienced one, so as far as I can tell, that shit doesn't exist.
Right.
So you read a lot about it, but it's one thing to believe in it blindly.
Right.
But when you make it and you experience it for yourself, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
And that's just talking from, like, a sleep experience, or experimenting with plant life, or putting a copper pipe and putting it and pointing it towards the sky, and it breaks up the chemtrails. That's something. Because even the chemtrail thing, they're like probably 80% of that is bullshit.
Right.
But every conspiracy is running over. They're using a certain basis of truth and running with it. And that's the same thing with comedy. In order for a joke to be funny, there has to be truth involved, or else it's not going to be funny.
Right.
So the reason I think these conspiracies are so effective is because they're using a bit of truth. So it's a matter of stripping out all the bullshit, all the fallacies, and all the disinformation, and finding your own core truth.
Right.
And one of those ways is you gotta live it, or you gotta experiment with it. You can't just look up a YouTube video or a blog and agree with it, because it's lacking information. You're only getting their word for it, and we don't even know if they're pulling our leg or not, just to make a buck.
That's good. So you would say getting into this has sort of
Open the eye.
Open the eye. It's got you to question things more.
Yeah,
Research.
one thing I do a lot is I question my Orgonite.
Yeah.
I question everything about it. And the more I question it, the more I get an answer of I'm on the right track.
Right.
It's all about questioning everything. If you believe in something to be fact,
Yeah.
what if the information getting the source of information, what if you don't know if they're trying to make a buck off of you,
Right.
or steal your energy, or keep you in limbo?
Right. So, and how do you make the organ, or how do you make these?
How to make the Orgonite?
Yeah.
Right now I'm wrapping up you can't really see it, but I take fiberglass resin, and I take up quartz crystals. I don't get the nice terminated crystals. I go out in nature and look for the quartz that are in the rocks, because quartz and silica is one of the most abundant things on Earth.
Yeah.
So I learned to identify which rocks contain silica. So I go out, just walk down the street, or in El Paso, I just go up on the mountain and find the rocks.
Right.
And then I crush them up into a powder. I take iron shavings and black iron oxide. And quartz is my main ingredients in all of my Orgonite pieces. They're going to have at least quartz crystal, black tourmaline, and blue kyanite. And the quartz and the tourmaline, they're both great candidates for generating piezoelectricity.
Right.
And the iron filings and the black iron oxide are pretty much any metal. I like to use these particular metals because they're very fine, and you could just fit more material into your Orgonite piece.
Right.
Yeah, I found it to be more effective.
Yeah.
So what happens is I take a mold, like a butterfly mold, and I use resin, fiberglass resin. And when you add a catalyst solution to the resin, it causes the liquid to heat up immensely. It gets really hot.
Yeah.
And it shrinks and solidifies. And that solidification and that shrinkage creates a permanent squeeze on the crystals, on the tourmaline and the quartz, and it generates piezoelectricity. With the iron filings and the iron oxide, or pretty much any metals, it creates a small magnetic field. You can get a piece of Orgonite and hold it over a compass, and it's going to start manipulating the needle. So then I let it all harden in the mold. I pop them out. I take a Dremel tool and smooth out the edges, and then I take sandpaper, smooth them out even more, and I apply a final gloss. And then I hand wrap all my Orgonite pieces. That's pretty much how I make it. It takes about 4 hours to make a pendant. But I make them in batches, so it's not like I'm making one at a time.
Yeah.
I make like either up to a dozen at a time, or a couple at a time.
Yeah.
And that's the process of making Orgonite.
That's neat. And you use molds that you buy or make?
No, I don't make them. I should start learning how to make them, but I get everything from Hobby Lobby, Christian Hobby Lobby. And another cool thing about it is I set up at art shows.
Yeah.
And whenever there's an art show, you'll see me in El Paso. And other people who are into it starts gravitating other people who are into, like, this dude who makes molds.
Right.
And we're gonna start collaborating on a piece. There's another dude who works with fiberglass resin, and has access to color catalyst.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like it's kind of evolving as I go along with it.
Right. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
Do you so what's your main like push on getting your art sold, your Orgonite sold? Do you mostly do the art fairs?
Yeah, I'll do the art fairs in order to spread knowledge, or not knowledge, information.
Yeah.
And that was I've been selling Orgonite for over a year and a half. I've been working with it for 2.5 years, and so like the way I go at it is I give the full explanation of what Orgonite is to anybody who's willing to listen.
Right.
And I always keep, like, I'll make aesthetically pleasing looking ones, but I'll keep rough looking ones.
Yeah.
And whoever listens, I just give them a piece. Like, hey, thanks for listening, even if they didn't buy it. And yeah, that's been my tactic for this past year and a half. And I just give the spiel about it.
Right.
And it's like I've narrowed it down to at least a 4-minute brief explanation.
Yeah.
But I can't just go, oh, it turns negative into positive. Because I'm leaving a lot of information out. I'm not saying how or why or what's going on. So I give them the whole spiel, and I feel like, because as a comedian, I have to cut the fat out.
Yeah.
If I'm up on stage, I can't just go explaining things. I gotta get to the point, punchline, in and out. Same with Orgonite. The attention span is gonna be like a lot less, especially because nobody really knows about it. But it's always great when somebody does know about it. But right now, my medium is taking it to the streets.
Do you so where do you see the Orgonite, or at least this medium of art, moving towards? Do you think you'll always do sort of like these artists and like jewelry sort of things, or do you think you'll do, because you do other things like you built a tower to get rid of the chemtrails or something, right? So do you see some of these Orgonites moving into other artistic mediums besides jewelry that are also functional as far as like serving a purpose, or do you think go on.
Like I do, when I make Orgonite, I do it for 2 reasons. One, for the body to have at least some kind of protection from the radio frequencies emitted from our electronics. But the most important part is all my proceeds, I try and make it so that my proceeds go into buying cheaper fiberglass that still works and making Orgonite for nature. So if I make $100, like 40 of that's gonna go towards a gallon of resin.
Yeah.
The rest is gonna go towards the minerals. And what I do is I grid the land of this stuff. 1 block each.
Yeah.
And give back to nature. So to answer your question, I don't know. But I have my priority of nature and my priority of people.
Yeah.
So like with El Paso, up until like 6 months ago, my main goal with Orgonite was to grid the entire land, the city of El Paso, with Orgonite. But then after a while, I started realizing it was like, oh, if I'm selling a pendant to people, that's an Orgonite, a piece of Orgonite somewhere, like in the house.
Yeah.
So it's like gridding to the max.
Right.
Putting it out in nature and people in front of like the houses or wherever there's a cell phone tower or power stations, just put multiple pieces of Orgonite everywhere. And my goal is to recalibrate the atmosphere where it should be, because whoever's running things, when you just look at it, they're going against nature. They despise nature.
Yeah.
Work against it, and it's being allowed. So the intention is to really stick it to these assholes and recalibrate the atmosphere where it should be. And recalibrate ourselves also as well, because when you're wearing a piece of Orgonite on your as a pendant or a pocket stone, you're pairing your own magnetic field that you generate, because
right.
the Earth has a magnetic field. We are of the Earth, so we also have a magnetic field, but it's just constantly bombarded with radio frequencies, from the microwaves, the cell phones, the radio, the TV, like pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. As far as the long-term aspect of it, I honestly don't know, because my main goal in El Paso was to grid the entire city and then stop. But why stop there?
Yeah. So, what's your what do you do when you grid the city? What does that consist of?
I do a Google map and I survey the landscape from a bird's eye view. And I'll go to T-Mobile or AT&T and I'll find a map of all their cell phone towers.
Yeah.
And go from there. Like for me, at my neighborhood, there's over 400 pieces of Orgonite scattered. So I'd like to start a base and then move on.
Right.
Extend it.
Yeah. So you've already done about 400 gridding.
Yeah, in my neighborhood alone. In El Paso, there's probably like there's over 500 pieces of Orgonite that I distributed myself. Oh, no, well, there's like probably like another 50 that other people, they really like what I'm doing, and they're like, dude, I'm gonna go hiking. And I'm like, here's a shitload of Orgonite. Go throw it around.
Yeah.
So
you just put it somewhere? Or do you?
No, I'll bury them or throw them in a bush where they're not going to be found.
And are the ones that you use for, I'm just going to call it gridding, is it the same, like what do some of them look like this? Like are they sculptured or? No,
they won't be sculptured. They're going to be very rough looking. They're ice cube molds.
Yeah. And
it's all black, filled with Orgonite to the potential. Like this piece, for example.
Yeah.
Like when you look at it, it's in two layers.
Right.
And the top layer is the artful decoration to catch the eye of the people, right? And then the back is the Orgonite. But look, you have half and half. So my philosophy on it, pack it to the bone.
Yeah.
And so when I grid the land, it's packed to the bone. And they're not shaved, they're not color coded, or you know what I mean, like it's legit. And like wherever there's like say there's a yard of grass and then there's this patch that's dead.
Right.
I'll just go and plant an Orgonite piece. And come back and see how the grass is doing, and the plant life loves this stuff.
You used the word aesthetic, right, to describe the visual.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure I get real language. So when you started doing this, why like the jewelry? So is that what most people did with the Orgonite? Did that just seem like the best way to go instead of doing like figurines or little?
Well,
animal sculptures.
the very first night when I
Yeah.
put a piece of Orgonite under my pillow, I had the vividest dreams.
Yeah.
They're very high definition, if you will.
Yeah.
Very recallable, and I woke up really early. And I'm like, oh my god, if this is having this effect on me,
Yeah.
imagine how other people. So my urgency was everybody needs a piece.
Yeah.
So how do I convince somebody in El Paso to wear one of these?
Yeah.
So it's like either just make it look good, piece of jewelry, sell it, or make a piece of jewelry, but explain to them what they're buying.
Yeah.
And go over the science of it. And yeah, and that like
Yeah.
it's good. It works.
So what? Just on the pure artistic level. So when you're designing, like say the one you're working on now, I know that there are reasons for the metals and stuff which we do talk about, but just on a pure like aesthetic, attractive sort of value, what are the things that you look for, or what are the things you expect from yourself when you're building one of these? Just as far as being an artist goes.
Well,
Like what are your standards?
let me go over the process of how I make it.
Okay.
Like there's the physical part, but there's also a mental part. So when I get a batch of resin,
Yeah.
I automatically I put a batch in my head,
Yeah.
and every single piece is already made. I have everything in my head before I even start. So then I gather the ingredients, get the molds, I put everything together, and then before I start, I go back in my head one more time and fine tune anything, or update, or upgrade, whatever. Then I make it, but I don't stop there either. While it's curing,
Yeah.
I go back in my head, and I meditate my intentions of my creations and what I want out of them. So it's a lot of back and forth, starting in the mind, in the inner world, and then coming out to the outer world and gathering the materials and whatnot, and going back into it's in and out.
Yeah.
It's basic alchemy. 101 is in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's how I go at it when I decide to make a batch.
Yeah. Are there any Orgonite makers who you admire, or even just jewelry makers who you've seen other work from and that you admire, that you find similar to your own? Or
Yeah. Orgonite Austin. His name is Dwayne Gardner. He is the guy. He is behind my inspiration, and seeing all his experiments, I got inspired. I'm like, I want to prove this guy either right or wrong.
Yeah.
And to not even repeating his experiments, like just making it, like you just start seeing. The first time I made Orgonite, a bunch of animals were gathering around me. Like all the birds, they got really close and they're like, "What are you doing?" Like bees were like getting really close to it, and flies and stuff. And I'm like, "What the fuck? Why is this dragging all these animals?" So like just even making it was already showing me signs that this stuff is doing something.
Yeah.
So yeah, this Orgonite Austin, Dwayne Gardner, he has been like the inspiration or the catalyst to my campaign of Orgonite.
What's his name again? Dwayne?
Yeah, it's Dowin.
T-O.
Looks like Doan, but it's Dwayne. Dwayne Gardner.
And that's just spelled gardener, like to garden.
He goes by Orgonite Austin, and that's what inspired the name of Orgonite El Paso.
Right.
Because I met this guy eventually, and dude, we ended up like him and I are the same fucking dude.
Yeah.
Like, and we hit it off really good. And one of the things while we were spending time together was Orgonite Austin or Orgonite El Paso. It's not a noun. It's a verb. It's an action.
Yeah.
It's to literally Orgonite El Paso, Orgonite Austin, Orgonite the United States, or Orgonite the world, because there's other people around the world making this stuff too. And as far as wrapping the Orgonite is concerned, I have not come across any Orgonite distributor that wraps their own. They usually have the little thing in the
they make like a little thing for a hook.
Yeah, they'll insert the hook like with a power drill or something, and then. But for me, every single piece of Orgonite, and I'm talking about over 2,000 pieces, are hand wrapped. I'm actually almost out of my spool.
So what made you choose this route, wrapping it by hand instead of?
I didn't know how to, or I didn't have the material. I didn't have the drill to, and then glue it. Might as well, I'd rather wrap it because my energy is going into this wrap.
Yeah.
So it could only benefit, I guess.
Yeah.
But benefit, I guess, as far as aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think as far as the energy is concerned. I don't know.
So I guess my final question for now. So when you're out on the street selling Orgonite, or when you're at an art fair, or somebody just sees this necklace at your house and you're telling them about Orgonite and they're like, let me see what you have. What's sort of the one thing, whether it's artistic, whether it's from a salesperson, whether it's from an environmentalist, whether it's from a whatever medium, what's the main thing that you want somebody to walk away from, whether or not they take
Believe it or
home
not.
a piece of Orgonite? Yeah.
There's a couple of things I want. I don't want or expect them, but like if they get it, that's great.
Yeah.
But working with Orgonite, there's uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
That pop up.
Yeah.
Like the chemtrails situation. A lot of people don't want to. It's just water crystals.
Right.
It's like, well, dude, have you looked up for hours at a time and see the metamorphosis of the trail?
Yeah.
And if they're flying in a grid-like pattern, if they're all connecting. Have you sat outside the city to see this cloud not move?
Yeah. Before you go on, I just feel like maybe you can talk about what the chemtrails are, or just some of the theories about.
Well,
I know it's not related to Orgonite.
No, it's very
related
to
to
Orgonite.
Yeah.
The chemtrail theory, like, there's a lot of disinformation. We gotta get that clear. There's disinformation about everything, about Orgonite, spirituality, the New Age movement, reptilians. It's littered in fallacies and disinformation. So I try. I try and be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
So when I say that, I mean I sit down and I just look at the sky without taking my eyes off of it for hours. And a lot of people don't have the time to do that. A lot of people don't even look up. They're just
Yeah.
So then another uncomfortable truth about this is that I was like, well, why don't people see this stuff?
Yeah.
Why do some people just automatically write it off? Like, oh, it's water vapor. It's ice crystals. It's like, well, you do a little bit of fact checking. Ice crystals, that's just water vapor. And it's supposed to evaporate within 5-10 minutes of being in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
This kind of information was not available a few years ago. Now, all of a sudden, the there's reports coming out, oh, that these are persistent contrails because there's humidity in the air.
Yeah.
And it's like El Paso does not have humidity whatsoever. So why are these things sticking around, and why are they forming into a cloud and not moving? Clouds move along. So when people are like, oh, it's just not big, I'm like, well, can you elaborate? Or have you looked up more? So there's a lot of conspiracies about these chemtrails, and they get off the wall. Like they're saying that there's one. My favorite one is, oh yeah, they're spraying nanobots.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, like really, nanobots? Like it sounds like a good, like logically it makes sense, but like that's intangible evidence.
Yeah.
I don't have access to a microscope to catch these nanobots.
Yeah.
Or get a blood sample and see if there's little robotics.
Yeah.
Flying around. Another one is that they're poisoning us with metals, and the metals are seeping into our skin and we're becoming conductors. But conductors to what? Like it just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And they may be right about the metal part, but the fact is I don't have any equipment to test what is the settlement of it.
Yeah.
But from my observations is that cumulus clouds that produce rain, whatever's in these trails, they do not like it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to post videos on YouTube trying to distinct a healthy cloud from an artificial cloud. And unfortunately I don't have any time-lapse photography. Everybody's attention span is very low. Like right now the damn interview's 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Not gonna get, like the attention span's gonna be very short.
Yeah.
So, but from my personal observations is whenever, like in El Paso, we have the monsoon season and all the moisture comes from the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And you see the storms coming. They build up. Then they'll send one dude to spray on either on the path of it or above it. And I'm telling you, just sit down and look for an hour and you'll see the clouds dissipate. And it's a weird phenomenon. Like, even as a kid, I'm like, why does the clouds go around the city? They even create a donut effect on the radar where you see all the rains, and then it just goes over here, goes around, and the city is just left with no rain. Why? And I think this is why. So, some of the conspiracies may be right. I don't know. But from my personal observations and truth is that whether geoengineering, weather modification, and when you make a big piece of Orgonite and you put some copper pipes in it, it pokes holes in these artificial clouds. It moves them out of the way. You see vortexes generating. Or they're going outwards, not inward. They go outwards. And they just poke holes in these things, and then within 5-10 minutes, I keep calling these, like, you'll see a plane trying to patch the sky from whatever it is they're trying to do. So that's my take on these chemtrails or contrails, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah. So going back to the initial question, what would you hope that people would go away from?
Oh yeah,
primarily. I just want to get that sort of thing out for people who might not know.
Like, I don't want to intentionally point out that everything's not okay.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, it's time to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And not, oh, it's just contrails. Like, dude, do a little bit more investigating. See what the radio frequency output of your cell phone is.
Yeah.
Check what the radio frequency of a cell phone tower is. And then do more investigation, see what harm radio frequencies have on the human body. If you think about it, we didn't have this technology it's all fairly new from like probably the early 1900s. And as the evolving species, we have not had enough time to develop a barrier of these radio frequencies. So they're just passing us in and out all the time. So I would like for somebody to, I don't want them to believe,
Yeah.
I just want to get the wheels turning.
So when you, so as like an artist and, like say you go into a shop and you're not going to pitch any of the deeper meaning behind this stuff.
No, I always.
If you were,
Oh wait.
but yeah,
yeah.
just if you were going to just say here's some sort of jewelry I make. Hold on.
Bit of a break, real quick.
Yeah. Are you ready? This will be the last
All right.
question. So if you were just going to go into a shop and just say here's some jewelry, would you sell this here? What would really separate, besides all of this other stuff, what would separate your work from anything else? And even just thinking like in a spiritual shop, just pure quartz crystals,
Right.
necklaces.
The difference is that I'm actually utilizing the crystals. 'Cause
Yeah.
like a lot of New Age and spiritual movements, they'll be like, oh yeah, these are healing stones, this. They never give an explanation as to how or why or what's going on. They're just like, yeah, wear this.
Yeah.
And then they'll sell it like 4 times worth its value.
Yeah.
So, the difference between what we make or whoever makes Orgonite,
Yeah.
is we're making little devices, wireless devices that accumulate ether, or orgone energy, or chi, or prana, or the force, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it. It's all the same shit. So I'm like as a backup, I'm like, well, dude, I'm selling you a wireless ether accumulator.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be the main difference. It's just utilizing the crystals and the metals to their fullest potential by squeezing the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
That's good.
Like earlier today, I went to a store and she was like, "Well, it's not trendy enough." And I'm like, "Do you know what Orgonite is?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, like it's gonna get there because people like Orgonite Austin, Organize Africa, Wizard of Yaz, myself, other people. There's a bunch of pockets within the world, people making this stuff
Yeah.
and recalibrating the atmosphere where it should be naturally. And plus, like, it helps you sleep better.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really go out on record and like, be, dude, this is gonna help you with your sleep. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if it's a placebo effect or if it's actually the orgone energy. Because when you believe in something, you put your power towards it, you give it validity. Just like with conspiracy theories. Or voting. Like you want to give we give our power up to the candidate who is speaking on our behalf, and look at the track record. They don't really do it. They don't really do anything. Oh, now we're getting to political bullshit, but yeah. So like you give it power, or you give it your energy, and I don't know. Yeah, I still don't know if it's a placebo or.
Right.
But the fact that I'm questioning it now, it's gonna show me whether if I'm right or wrong, or give evidence as to maybe I should start doing something else. Or but as far as 2.5 years I've been working on it religiously,
Yeah.
I just keep seeing so many signs and that I'm on the right track. Like today, like I had no money, went over to Chicago on the street, put them there, and I have food for the next couple of days. Like I have no money for funds. Like it's really weird, dude.
Yeah.
But I love and making it is fun because like I always try and before I make a batch, I'll do a cleansing.
Yeah.
Or yeah, mainly I try to do a cleansing as much as I can. But like just the whole aspect of it, of putting it together in my head first, and then coming onto the physical world and putting what was in my mind out here.
Yeah.
And selling it and like making a living off of it. Or not even a living, just to pay the rent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, people are benefiting from it. So
Yeah.
like, there's my drive right there.
I really think that's good to end on.
Alrighty. This was our interview with David Shire, and you can find his blog at.
It's going to be at Subterranean Art Jive at blogspot.com.
You heard it. I can't remember it. Thank you guys for listening, and alright. We'll see you guys later. Mondo Blanco, David Shire from Chicago. See you later, guys.